On behalf of Dallas College and the sustainability team, welcome. Thank you for joining Sustainable Dallas College for our Sustainable You webinar series. My name is Faye Davis, Assistant Director of Sustainability for Outreach and Engagement. This presentation was recorded and produced by the Dallas College LaCroix Center. Thank you to our speakers and to our sponsors. We hope you enjoy this presentation. Southern Dallas neighborhood Floral Farms was a dumping ground for roof shingles that piled up taller than the homes nearby for nearly 2 years. Poor air quality that is attributed to the shingles' toxic dust caused health issues including headaches, breathing problems, and inflammation of vocal cords for residents. Marsha Jackson, a resident of Floral Farms since 1995, along with her neighbors and other community advocates, committed herself to fighting against Shingle Mountain until it was finally cleared in February of 2021. Environmental activist Marsha Jackson proved that together we can move mountains, and she is here with us today to share her story.
Hello, I'm Marsha Jackson. I am the co-chair of Southern Sector Rising in Dallas, Texas. We are an environmental activist organization. We represent districts 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in Dallas, Texas, but we also been reached out to other states to support them also. We started Shingle Mountain because it arrived near my home in January 2018. That's the reason because a company put 180,000 tons of roofing shingles right next to my home, less than 300 feet from my bedroom. So we began to call and call. No one understood what we were calling for. So I had to continue calling and met some more activists that we end up having an organization to fight this polluter in our neighborhood. Those polluters were shingles. Roofing shingles come off your home. You know, and just imagine having all those roofing shingles been years and years, over 30 years or 15 years might be in your home. All those pollutants come on that home, and you can see that. And that's what's going to destroy it. It has all that fiberglass. Those pollutants cause health problems. I apologize. They because you continue hearing me talking. In a few minutes, you might hear my voice start weakening out because they have polluted us so much that those roofing shingles, the fiberglass actually went into my throat and it damaged my vocal cords. And I continue having that issue for a lifelong. Again, I want to say Shingle Mountain was helped create Southern Sector Rising in March 2019. That is my nonprofit. It's an environmental organization. We support districts 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 with all the pollutants, and those are the most polluted areas in the city of Dallas. Floral Farms consists of District 8, Neighbors United, that's our neighborhood association. We also have the park for Floral Farms that you'll be seeing, that design, that's derived after the move from Shingle Mountain, and we'll continue talking about that also, and then our ongoing project for that park. Shingle Mountain, as you see, that's me, that was right in my backyard. You see that ground up shingles there. The ground up shingles, that came from the roofing shingles. And that's what it looked like, just like asphalt. You see it behind my neighbor's home. That was all just covering us. And it was just like a one-way into our neighborhood. So just imagine, if that caught on fire, what would happen to us? We have no way out of there. And it was just really, you could just imagine smelling the burnt pavement. That's what we're smelling, taking our breath constantly. And even though it's moved, it still harms us. You can see on the slide, the green, that's exactly the way it looked in our neighborhood before Shingle Mountain came. And now you can see what it looked like now in November 2018. It still looked like that right now. And what we're fighting, continuing back, we want to look like the greenery just like it used to be. And that's the reason why we moved there. So just imagine all this nice, pretty greenery, and look at it. You see it's black. And to me, that show is just dead. And we're working so hard to bring that greenery back up, just like our name Floral Farms, you know, because we have all the nurseries in the area. You know, we have 3 nursery companies out there. And my neighbors, they want to garden all over again. And this is what we're trying to advocate to get this back in the neighborhood. Not only did it affect me or my health, you see, it also affect my little neighbors. You know, and it's a shame that our babies have to suffer through this also. and the medicine we take because of this. I am 64 years old, and just imagine that started there when I started. I was 61 years old, and the health issues I have, I never had them before, never so much. The kids now get there. We can try to go out there and try to play a little bit. We still have those same issues. So we also had to go out and fight. You know, we had action down at the city hall. We had people out there speaking and staying with it. No more Shingle Mountain, move the mountain. And that's exactly what we were advocating to do. And we finally got that done. It took us several years, 3 years before that Shingle Mountain was gone. All that activism, all they had to do is listen to our voice when we first came. And that's exactly what we're expecting to do now. You know, we have to start working together and protect our community, protect our residents. And we shouldn't have to continue to have these actions, but that's what it takes. 3 years of advocacy. These are our neighbors. You see the green around. That's exactly what we want again. You know, we want our children to be able to go out and play, have a good time, enjoy ourselves, you know, have our barbecues. You know, the cleanup, we all had to work together. And what I can say, what happened, it pulled our community that much closer to us, you know, because we didn't have that. We stayed in our homes, but we are a family, and that's what we want everybody to continue knowing. We end up having to have our neighborhood self-defense project. That's where we brought all the community in, the people in the residence, and people didn't even know it. They still don't. When we first started fighting, people actually thought it was only 3 houses in the neighborhood, and therefore they saw it was more than 3 houses. It was actually 23 houses in the neighborhood, and just because it wasn't on our street, it affected our neighbors even 3 blocks away because of the smell. You know, it's constantly. So just imagine again, 180,000 tons of roofing shingle surrounded your home. You know, I was asked one other time, well, Miss Jackson, what does it bother you so much? Is it the beauty? No, it's not the beauty. It's for the health, you know, and if they had to kind of listen to us before, we wouldn't have these same issues. And that's what we continue fighting, because we don't want any other communities to continue going what we're going through also. And you see how the effect of the pollutants in the neighborhood, that you see that how we have our community take up the fluoroforms. 87% of African Americans, and then 12% Hispanic, Latino. And that's the effect that these pollutants have in there. We have our racial zoning in our community, you know, because of our lack of for housing also. We're also advocating because this Shingle Mountain was brought in. It's RRIM industrial right next to residents. My community, my neighbors, and my home, we are agricultural. And we're also fighting against that to be rezoning all over again. If the rezoning is not changed, we continue to have these issues. We have continued to address illegal pollutants in District 8, smallest District 8 in my community. With 23 houses, we have fought 4 batch plants, and we'll continue fighting against the pollutants coming in there. These companies are steady bringing pollutants in our community. We still bringing consensus, going door to door. You know, we have to continue advocating. We have to continue having our voices out there. Because of Shingle Mountain, this issue come, we have HKS came to us, and they came to our community. They talked to our community because it's a brown community. They kind of withdrawn, you know, because the city started coming out, and they started kind of retaliating against us because we were bringing these attention to us. So the community back. They labeled me as the spokesperson, and they didn't say anything. But HKS came out, and they bought these designs, they bought the drawing, and they wanted to talk to our community about bringing a park in that community. And this just opened up the children. They were excited about the idea. You see that we all had our own vision. They were able to draw what we want in that park, and that's exactly. So they started bringing them back and started coming back out again. Our community, the kids, everyone had a say-so in this design of the park, you know, and that's what was so exciting. Not only the park, you know, the garden, that's what we want to bring back. Fluoroforms, bring this garden back in so we can have our fresh vegetables all over again and our plants out there in that community. We have one of the first bilingual plan. Our neighborhood did our first neighborhood plan and bilingual in there, and we're presenting that to the city also, and we want them to implement that in there for $4 plan, and we're hoping that they're listening to us and bringing that in there, because that is the best plan for a neighborhood. Who else can say what we need in our neighborhood besides exactly what we do? The Park for Floral Farms, again, our vision. We design, and those days, the KHKS, and I'll thank them, continue thanking them to get my neighbors back out to have a smile on their face. And, you know, the kids always ask, would this ever happen? You know, and we're still trying to push it. We're advocating. We have more allies that come in to help us and supporting us on this. But every design that you might see on this plan, you see our supporters, the kids have the say-so in what they want on this Park for Floral Farms design. You know, we have to have our assessment done. The city dollars now, since we update this, that city manager found $2.5 million to go in to remediate the property. But there again, they won't start again until June 2023. So we still have to have a ways to go on it. Since then, a couple of weeks ago, that right next door to us, right the same place that started at Almira, right the same place that started right next door to Almira, they come back out again, and we're fighting again for another pollutant right next door, a metal recycling. You know, I took videos and I show all the dust and the smoke, you know, and we're surrounded by trailers. And anybody know when you start going in, you got to understand that you have to have a CO and an SUP to have that next to a residential. They don't have it at all. So again, I started calling 311. Exactly the same thing we did for Shingle Mountain. And we're going through the same steps. And so we continue to voice our opinion. We continue advocating for that. We do have the environmental commissioner now that's on board, that they're all working and supporting us, and they're making sure OEQ is staying in. But what's so disappointing to me about, you can send in videos, we can send proof of this is what's going on, but they tell us that they can't do anything, even with our proof and our live videos. This is what's happening right on my front porch. You know, they have to see it themselves. Until they see it themselves, they can't react on it. So it's just really bad for our community and our neighbors, because we continue going through that. If we can only get our rezoning done, we won't have to continue fighting or pushing like that. Floral Farms is still number 12 on the authorized hearing. They say they moved us up in February. They have not moved us there. So we're still signing and waiting on the councilman to create our committee so we can start this authorized hearing to continue our rezoning. And I'm open to any questions that you might have. I appreciate you listening to me, our slide, and following our project that we're having in there, and our advocacy. You know, we continue to look for support. We need that support, and we're still advocating for this Park for Floral Farms. The city owned that section that we're trying to put in there, but this is a holdback, and now we have to wait on the reassessment there, remediation there, and that's the big problem. That property has heavy lead, and that's the reason why we have to remediate. And I still worry, me and my community still worry, because we are in a flood zone, and that property has that heavy lead on it, and there's a creek right next to it. So when it rains a lot, the water's flowing down off into that creek. We have animals out there, you know, and then the creek is flowing onto the Trinity and the 5 Mile Creek, and that's still some more hazardous and pollutants that they're causing. So stop waiting, and we want them to do the right thing and continue supporting Floral Farms, and let's clean up this area, clean up the city dollars of those illegal pollutants. Thanks for listening. If you would like to know more about Southern Sector Rising or Marsha Jackson, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I appreciate you continuing following us and supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Marsha. Your story is just absolutely incredible. So I've got a few questions for you today, if you don't mind. So I think when people hear your story, people just tend to instinctively victim blame. And I'm sure you've gotten the question, why not just leave the neighborhood? Why not just leave Floral Farms? So what caused you to stay and fight?
I hear that often. You know, I tell people all the time, I've been in my house for 27 years now. So why would I let a company just move next to me, only been there a year, to push us out of there? You know, that's my home. I raised my children, my grandchildren. My oldest grandson is 30 years old now, so he was a baby. And the reason why we moved there is for the rural area, for our horses, for our animals. They used to raise greens over there. And like I said before, I love the flora. I love the green. And that's my dream, to have our community come back the same way. It's not only me being there. When we first started fighting Shingle Mountain, people ask, why don't you just move? Why don't you hop up and leave? If they offer you something when you leave, but what's going to happen to my neighbors? You know, that's family. So I can't run off and leave families and family and leave them suffering like that. And that's just something I can't do. I'm there to fight for my health, for my children. I'm the mother. So who else should be there to take care of our family besides me?
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much for staying. You are known as the woman that moved mountains, and you are really an incredible woman, and your story is fantastic. When you were starting this journey, did you know that your story would be publicized as much as it was?
No, I didn't. The only thing I wanted was my community clean. I wanted all that pollutant moved, you know, because it was just really affecting our bodies. When we first started, I know I was coughing up black phlegm. I didn't know what it was coming from. I'd taken all the tests for allergies. My neighbor, self-employed, and he ended up sick. They were coughing up black smut the same way, he and his family. So, you know, I knew that we had to do something. No, I never did think it. And I guess now, even going through what we have, I still don't think it. You know, people are saying, well, you've been out there a long time. You've been on I had a documentary. And yes, I did, but you know, Marsha Jackson Day, I still just don't think about it. I guess I still just think it as the one person. The only thing I know that I'm a mother and a granny, and I just had to have my voice out there, continue speaking, because I tried to do the right thing, but my calls just went unanswered. You know, and if I always say, you know, I have faith small as a mustard seed, and then I continue keeping that faith, and I know that someone will listen sooner or later. So I wasn't the only one did it, you know. I was the person that got it started, I brought it out to her, but we had so many allies that also helped support us also, and the neighbors.
Yes, yes. And that was actually my next question. Can you talk about your allies? Who did you approach at first for help?
Actually, the very first time that I went to help, I went to Highland Hills land planning Superfund meeting, and we still have that issue. I'm on that committee too. But anyway, I went to November 2018. I went to that land planning Superfund meeting, and I met Tamika Duro. And I never met her before. And I said, y'all fighting about this thing. What about this issue down by my house? Nobody come out there. Nobody returned my calls. And she called me about 2 weeks later and invited me to a Let Drop It Breathe meeting at the time. And I did go to that meeting at Good Works. And that's when I met Jim Schoenberg and Ella Mayo at Don Winders. And right after then, we organized a different group. We began to strategizing. He came out and couldn't believe what he saw. And that's when he reached out to my good friend now, Robert Walonsky. And Robert was a Dallas Morning News reporter at the time. And Robert wrote over 16 articles about Shingle Mountain. And from that, not only was he a reporter, but he became my great friend, you know. And he's the one that really got it started from that day on, continue writing. And from that day on, that it even went from to a Washington Post, and, you know, a New York Post, and AJ Plus, you know, and then went to the documentary. So that's how I began to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I know others must approach you all the time about the struggles that they're going through that are very similar to yours. What do you tell someone going through that about where to start?
Of course, they always say you have to start with 311 so they can have a record of it. But not only 311, call your city council. They don't do anything else. Go to your city manager. He did tell us that a lot of things that started with us with Shingle Mountain, it wasn't trickling down to him. You know, they kept it at the lower level. So I think that involving the city manager higher up, and then they didn't do anything, then you go public about it. And that's the first thing I tell them also. Start first, but it is hard when you try to get started when you don't have anybody to listen to, and then join in with other allies to help you also. Because I think that more than one voice, you have a multitude, and then you start beginning to see positive signs, and you have to stay consistent of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I know I was very shocked during your presentation when you said that there was another company that's trying to come in and do the same thing that the Shingle company did. And I'm wondering, when people read your story and read about Floral Farms and how there's majority minorities in your neighborhood, I think it's very, hopefully it's very clear to everyone that, it's more than just an environmental issue, it's an environmental justice issue. And so my question is, do you believe that this would have been a problem in other neighborhoods in North Dallas?
No, I don't. When we was fighting Shingle Mountain, we also, I think Evelyn wrote the racial discrimination, profile in the area, and you can see the zip code areas that's what more affected, black and brown communities. Like I said earlier, we're in a flood zone area, and the zoning need to be corrected in these areas. It never would have happened. It never would have happened. This company that just moved next door to me, they were on Longview for years. They were illegal also. Where they came from, illegal metal recycling. They got ran off of Longview, so now they coming over to buy the old property, the same owner. And I think that when you have these companies that continue to pollute in those areas, that they need to have sticker violations. I don't think the city need to allow them to even have a CO or certificate of occupancy or SUP, special use permit, because you see there are pollutants. And from my experience, we find out once they're there, you never get rid of them. So no, I don't think any other kind of fluent areas, no, they would not be there. The same thing that they're fighting now in West Dallas. When I went over there, I saw that and I said, oh my Lord, you see it so close to the community. And if you're not there, that you never would have been able to experience what we're going through. And that's an experience I don't want anybody else to continue going through, because I have this issue that I'm going to have the rest of my life, and I just don't want anybody else continue going through that. I like to talk, I like to represent, and I continue saying that when I continue just a little while, they take my voice away. But I always say, well, maybe that's what they really trying to do. They want my voice to be gone, so I won't no longer have that voice, But as long as they have sign language, they're going to still hear my voice, So,
very good,
yeah.
Yes. So I know the city of Dallas had some influence or had a hand in your journey. Can you talk about your journey with the city of Dallas? Sure.
At first, it started really, really rocky, because I had nobody to listen to me, and we weren't getting anywhere. They had a committee then, and they kind of pushed us back because of the CCAP. But they have an environmental committee, new people over there that I believe that they are really, really trying to help us, after this happened. About these violations, we still got violations in our district. I think we have 8 right now that they're still working on, they're pushing them. And Catherine Bassan is the chair of the environmental committee, and she has been staying in contact with me. And she the environmental commission voted to continue following up with Floral Farms and making sure these violations are taken care of. I know they're not going to be overnight, but this one next door to me, I hope they really push that pretty soon. I just think that it's a shame that they have to see it first besides of the videos that we're taking, and I hope that changed also. What I am thankful about that the city manager did, we had a conversation at the Paul Quinn Symposium, and I was happy about that because it was with the city manager, the OEQS staff, and also the planning. And that's conversation I think we should have had a long time ago, to bring the neighborhood in, to bring the city in, and we discussed some of these issues issues we're having also. So I think from there it started moving up. The city manager did go in and found $2.5 million in the budget, move money around for to do remediate of that property, and that's exactly what we need, and that's a start. You know, I tell them all the time, that's a start. So the next start, it's going to take a while, and the OEQS director stay in touch with me, and he tried to tell me the process, and he's new, and we just got him from EPA, the Environmental Protection, and he's an attorney there. So I think he's committed to working with the community. He's doing what he can. You know, people have to understand. So even though people have these positions, they still have a boss that they have to listen to, and they can't make any hasty movement until their boss say so. So I think that it's very important to stay on that table, the negotiation, and we speak. We have a voice and they have a voice, and let them know that what is going on and what we need to work on. But the remediation is supposed to start in June 2023, and they don't look like for it to be completed to June 24. The reason why June 23, they were told me, is because they have to wait and get approval from the TCEQ, exactly what kind of work they can do on there and how much work they can't do. You know, and that's another department that need to do a push, because they need to do better than what they're doing also.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So talk about Southern Sector Rising. When did you start Southern Sector Rising, and what are the goals?
Southern Sector Rising was created in March 2019. You know, that was co-founder, and some of the allies helped push that also. And it was created because of our fight with Shingle Mountain. You know, it was birthed for environmental injustice. Districts 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, those are districts that's the heavy polluted areas in the city of Dallas. And those are more areas that have most of the racial zoning issues also. And so what we're doing, we'll look for them to come to us, and we'll go support also. You know, we all have this fight out here. You know, it's a lot of stuff political, but we also have to understand that we support our community, but we still have to listen, and then we still have to have a voice on there for negotiation. And we want to continue, and like you said, some people had never did it. You know, it's strange what I did find out and I did learn. A lot of people don't know anything about environmental injustice, and they do not know. So we're still trying to educate our community on that, not only here in the city of Dallas, like we said, we go to the Gulf State, you know, and represent the city of Dallas to let people know exactly what we're going through also. So it's a lot of education, and we have to continue doing also.
Thank you. And so how can our audience support, or how can the community support Southern Sector Rising and you?
We continue having support. We have people now reaching out to ask what can they do to volunteer. So we have a Southern Sector Rising web page, and all they have to do is just search southernsectorrising.org. We also are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. And so on Southern Sector Rising, if they can go to a volunteer page about us, or either they have a donate page. We have a donate page that can donate also. So we're still looking. What our fundraising mostly we're continuing doing is the fundraising for the Park for Floral Farms. And we have our HKS pro bonos providing us assistance. And then we also have Santander and Dallas Stars, also some of our allies that's supporting us on there. So the only thing that we're working on and we're waiting on the city of Dallas to tell us that there are donating that property to us for this park. You know, they said fundraiser, but we continue our fundraising, so we continue building on that property and make that. So that's all we need. We need to finish the remediation cleanup for them to commit to us. The reason why we saying the park, and let me make everybody understand. The reason why we saying the Park for Floral Farms, because my community is a small community. You know, we have nothing down there. We don't have public transportation. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have anywhere where our children can go out to play or run. And there's no parks near us, you know. And in fact, we don't even have grocery stores out there. So this is another way to give back to our community. The city know that we were done wrong. Now, you have this property. What else you're going to do with that? Donate it back to the community, you know, make a wrong, try to have attempt to do right on there. And my neighbors are looking for a garden there. They're saying that maintenance, worried about the maintenance. Let's negotiate on that, you know, and we decide. We even have our community willing to try to help on some of that. So just sit down and listen to them. I heard somebody say one day, well, what about the one big concern is safety. Safety, we had to think about our family when we designed that part. So the safety is built in, the designers built us in there. So, that's built in, and we're just only asking to talk, listen to us, and it's a beautiful park design if you hadn't seen it. So we're asking for continued support on that. Thank you.
And my final question, what is next for Marsha Jackson? What are you up to now, and what do you see for yourself in the future?
Well, to finish my doctorate, hopefully that'll be complete in November 22. And that's a big stonewall jump. I am still busy. I work constantly, but I am still busy going out speaking. And I'm involved with now the South for Green New Deal. So they take a lot of my time, and then we're going to speak out in Louisiana. And now we're working on a environmental tour in the state of Texas, not just Dallas, but the state of Texas. And my Texas Hub group is so excited because they're going to come to Dallas to see some of these environmental issues they have, and then we'll go in the rest of the state. So we're really excited about that. So, you asked if there's some people ask me, are you running for city council? No. I think that my voice is better than outside right now, and I could. Some of I would mind being on some of the boards that I really have a voice, not a committee, but the boards that I really have a voice that my voting rights would be heard, on that. But it's a lot of work to do out here, and I hope that we clean this stuff up.
Thank you so much, Marsha,
You're
for
welcome.
joining us today. What an incredible presentation. And to the audience, thank you. And we will see you soon.
Thank you.